Hello and welcome to this edition of the Grow with Moin podcast. I am your host, Moin Zafar, and today I have with me Mei Phing Lim. Now,
Hi.
hi Mei, welcome to the show. Mei has been a consistent performer and has been fast-tracked to senior positions in multiple global multinational companies while only in her 20s. In her last role, she was the senior director and the head of governance at Standard Chartered Bank. And now she is a leadership coach, a consultant, and a TEDx speaker. So my first question to you, Mei, would be, first of all, congratulations on a very good career. And then
Thank you.
you're welcome. And then second of all, how did you make the leap from, working for a big financial corporations and then now starting your own sort of consultancy and coaching and becoming a speaker?
Um, Personally, I feel like there isn't much of a big difference. I guess what's truly different is just the label that I used to be leading teams in the corporate world, but right now I'm pretty much the founder of my own company. But I think that in terms of the actual stuff that I've been doing, like in the past, I was running teams, I was coaching them on their personal as well as professional development, I was leading projects. I feel like it's the same thing I'm doing right now, but I get to choose if the young, ambitious professionals to work with. So I think from a day to day, it feels quite similar. But at the same time, of course, I think there's more satisfaction of being able to get creative and doing it on your own.
I see. Okay. So, so when you were working for a big company, for example, your last role, what sort of inspired or triggered you to sort of leave that and then start your own thing? Like, what was happening around you, and what were the emotions that sort of led you towards starting your own company?
Um, I was actually looking for a bit more flexibility at that time because
Mm-hmm.
I was working in Singapore, but my family was pretty much back in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
So there were obviously some parents are getting older, there are some health problems here and there. And I thought that um, it would make more sense for me to be based back at home in Malaysia, which I'm currently based right now. Um, but I do think that my team and my bosses, they've been extremely supportive in terms of the decisions that I wanted to make for myself and for my future also. So there's been a really good run, I think, with Standard Chartered for sure, because I was actually one in the pioneer team running a lot of regulatory projects.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it was a very good end because that was when Standard Chartered announced that they kind of got a lot of the restrictions lifted, and that was the exact portfolio I was working on. So I felt like it was a good end to things. It didn't really end in a way that I had left things hanging or whatnot. So I think emotionally, it's it's exciting yet scary at the same time to want to start something new. I think that's the normal emotion you feel when um, you're very excited to want to get something started, but at the same time there is this uncertainty of like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
is this going to work out, and is this the right thing, am I up for it and whatnot. But I think that over time I think it just gets clearer, and I think the once I started working with clients, and these are the clients that I see a lot of myself in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Young, ambitious, and very creative. We want to do awesome things, very driven. I think that kind of motivates me to go on.
I see. Okay. So one of the main reasons for you was flexibility and obviously being there for your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And then it sort of transitioned easily for you. But you said that there was obviously uncertainty whether this would work out or not. So how did
Yeah.
you sort of tackle that challenge, in that barrier in your mind? Like, will this work out or not? Like, what were some of the tools that you used to really cross that barrier of like, okay, this is gonna happen?
Um, I think the thing that a lot of times we forget is to look at your past achievements,
Hmm.
because when we want to start a new path, a new journey, it is always scary. But I think there was a point where I felt, okay, why am I so afraid? Let's just kind of reflect on the past experiences, the past achievements, and then I myself got the realization that, oh, actually I've done quite a bit. Like, why should I worry so much? Maybe I should just really go for it. Of course, not discounting the fact that it's still a lot of hard work. You need to be persistent. You need to be sure that that is something that you believe in, and I do believe in that. The human skills are the skills for the future, because I have been in the past, I used to work with people like from their 20s to their 50s, and right now I'm coaching like millennials and Gen Z. And it is really true, like we forget that it's not the digital skills that we need, it's not so much the hard skills, but it's the soft skills that allow you to really move forward. So that's what I enjoy as well, like navigating people and problems and trying to find like creative solutions to stuff.
Okay. So like, what are some of the soft skills that you teach?
um my overall philosophy is leadership is self-management, because if you can't manage yourself, you don't understand, like for example, self-awareness, and like, if you can't manage your time, your emotions, your what's important to you and prioritize, there is no way that you can influence and work with other people. You can't lead a team and whatnot, because I always tell my clients, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mm,
If one thing is in a mess, then everything else is going to be in a mess, right?
mm,
So to me, there's no clear. It shouldn't be a clear distinction between, okay, this is life, this is your career, and this is business. To me, it's the same thing. Like the
mm,
skills that if your life is organized, then your business will be organized, your career will be organized, and vice versa as well. So
mm,
some of the stuff I focus on a lot is what I call my PING method, which is PHING.
mm,
P being personality. So I like to really help my clients understand like who they really are. Like what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what are their default behaviors, so that they can understand like the situation changes, but how you think, feel, and behave towards them, they are the same.
mm,
Then the other stuff I also cover, which is like mindset hacking, which is the H part. Just like what are some of the blocks, and a lot of times I think it goes back to like past experiences. If you have been fearful due to something, whatever happened in the past, then you feel more fearful of that same thing in the future. So that's
right.
normally like the perception that they have of themselves, or the successes that they think they deserve or not deserve, and that normally happens in the conversation. Then the other stuff are around like generating ideas, because I truly believe in the power of creativity, because if not, then you're pretty much locking yourself in the box. So I'm a person who is like very inspired by ideas as well. So I help my clients get more creative around, okay, it's really not a locked box, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what are the little things that you're willing to try, and like, okay, fine, you're an extrovert, but what about this, what about that, and can we do it like step by step? Then the other part, which is like N, the N stands for navigate, which to me is the absolute fun stuff, because
Mm,
no every situation is going to be exactly the same. So this is where I kind of like share a lot of my insights, skills, and as well as experience from the corporate world, and a lot of other things as well, because I travel quite a bit. So I've worked with people from different countries professionally, but also personally, because I've been to 37 countries and counting, and I hope that the number increases.
wow.
Yeah, so been quite fun. And oh yeah, the final one is G, which is go getter, because I like to say, if you don't take action, then it's just all fluff, like it's just all woo woo. So let's like actually go ahead. So communication for sure, leadership, I think creativity, adaptability, EQ, getting organized. I think all these things, like they just all link together. It's not just like
Mm,
one or the other, but it has to link together.
yeah, I love that, which is, and your approach seems to be more of a holistic approach. So what, um, if any area of your life is messy, then that's going to transfer to other areas as well. And
Yeah.
then I like when you said, when something difficult or uncertain comes up, you look at what you've done or been through in the past. So, like for example, if there's anything, if you think you haven't even done anything, there are times in your life, absolutely, where you thought that, for example, you couldn't do something, but
Mm.
you ended up doing it and you made it through it, and you're
Yeah.
still fine. So focusing on those and just using them as sort of a stepping stone is okay. You thought that, graduating from university was impossible, and you did that.
Yeah.
So, and now you're thinking this is impossible. So you can definitely do it because you did that too. So I really love that philosophy of yours.
Yeah. I think it's a matter of perspective because sometimes you feel like it's a big challenge, but once you overcome it and then you just forget about it. And you're like, okay, that we have moved on. But I guess you forget like what pulled you through, right? What made you successful? Because that's something that I think is kind of a wordy little exercise. Like for me, I have a little notebook where I write like my daily wins, and I encourage a lot of my clients to do the same, because when we think of like success, we always think of something really big, right? It has to be like I need to achieve something so huge, but what are your daily wins? Maybe just two. Start by writing two. It could be it's quite funny because I've been telling this little story to people quite a bit recently. I said that because I've been doing videos. I mean, if you've been following me on LinkedIn, you would have seen some of my videos here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I decided on 1st of January 2020 that I'm going to do videos.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. And up to this point, I think I've done quite a few already, but I think it's just deciding that, okay, I'm just going to do it. I think my message is important. I do want more people to hear it. And to me, a video is a good way of connecting with people, and for a good way for people to get to know me as well. Because I think 3D is way more important than 2D, right? You can write as much as you want, but I think when someone hears a message from you, coming from your perspective and kind of like the way you convey it, it's so much more powerful. And wouldn't it be an irony because I coach on communication, but I cannot communicate? I think that would be quite funny. So I thought, you know what, challenge for myself, and yeah, I mean, just start doing it.
Yeah, no, I definitely resonate with that. I certainly felt that when decided that I wanted to start a podcast, and this was in November. And then my thing was always that I would have good ideas,
Mm,
but I would like lack sort of the structure and how to put it and
right.
make it real. So one thing that I started doing was writing things down and then breaking them down into steps. All right, these are the 100 things that need to be done, and then let's focus on one, do that, and then come back to number two. Because what would happen usually with me was I would think about all the 100 things at the same time,
Mm,
overwhelm myself, and I was like, okay, I can't do this, and then move on. But I like the aspect of deciding, once you've decided you want to do something, like actually deciding it to do it instead of just an idea in your head.
yeah.
Then you can take the step of making a plan, writing it down, and just like you said, you wanted to communicate because that's part of what you're doing right now. You want it to be on video. You made that decision, and then now here you are. You're on video right now. So
Yeah.
I like that. So so you've been doing this according to your LinkedIn for 8 months now. How how has it been for you? Since month one, was it something that you expected to achieve within the first couple of months, or has it been different? How have things panned out from the moment you started, and what your expectations were?
um I I felt like I accidentally stumbled into it because it pretty much started when I was back home spending time with my parents.
Mhm.
But I had friends who faced some challenges in their career, so they pretty much pinged me and said that, "Hey, are you sort of free now? What are you doing? And like, I need help, and we have a chat about like some of the tips." And then I just sort of stumbled into it, and they said, "Okay, you know what? I would like to pay you because you have extensive experience and I massively need help."
Mhm.
Now that was how I got started. I started doing a couple of sessions here, a couple of sessions there, and after I thought that, oh, I'm enjoying it because I feel like it's the same thing I was doing in the corporate world. It's just that right now, like I said, I could actually pick the people I want to work with, and I think that has been quite helpful. Towards the later part of last year, to be honest, I was out traveling in Sri Lanka and Nepal for like 2 months, so
Mhm.
nothing much got done there. But
Mhm.
it was really inspiring to see different people and kind of like getting a bunch of inspiration here and there. Um, January this year was when I decided that okay, I'm just gonna go full out on LinkedIn and make people aware of this is kind of what I'm doing, and really to build a community there. So I think that experience has been very fulfilling. Actually, it's good to see that there are people who resonate with some of the challenges, and I get a lot of DMs from people who, especially I think introverts, who say, "Hey, I've watched some of your introverts other podcasts or videos, and that really helped me." So I think sometimes it's like the little wins that
Mm,
has been really fulfilling rather than the big stuff that you see sometimes.
yeah, and what I like about it is that I don't think you noticed, but did you used to post as much when you were working in the like for a company, like on LinkedIn?
No, I was too busy.
So there you go. So you made a transition, and even like for a lot of people, and including myself, before I started
Mm,
posting, my thoughts on Instagram or Facebook, even on
mm,
LinkedIn, was a huge thing, because there's a barrier there. And then
mm,
you're obviously thinking about, well, I was thinking about, what would people think? And
yeah,
there's these friends and networks of ties. But
yeah.
for you, it seemed like it was seamless. You just started posting or was it seamless? Did you worry about, what would people say, or did you just wanted to do it and, just got into it?
Um, I think most people do go through that phase of wondering what would people think, and not just what people think. Number one, is whatever I'm gonna say even important enough? Will people even
Mm-hmm.
care? Like that's the first one. Like who cares, right?
Mm-hmm.
And number two, what would they think of me and whatever not? So I think for me, I definitely did go through that phase also. The thing was that I think the 2 months I spent like last year just kind of like relaxing and just getting clear on what was it that I wanted to do. I think that helped provide some clarity. So I think get sometimes time for yourself and really try to iron it out within yourself first before you start posting stuff. But having said that, though, I think if I could redo it, I would definitely want to be more active on LinkedIn when I was working, because I think it does help to establish you as a thought leader within the industry, or within a certain topic. So I think that's something that people definitely should do more of, because the job market, everything is getting very competitive, and even in business as well. Personally, for me, I I like to follow different philosophies from different people. I feel like I learn a lot. And I think that's the same for everybody, who's looking for inspiration and wanting to take the first step. That the first step is not, it doesn't always have to be like the biggest step. It could be just, leaving comments and just um, putting in a quick summary for an article that you found interesting and you think is worth sharing with your community.
Yeah, I love that. So you talk about something very important there, which is like taking time for yourself and figuring out exactly,
Mm.
what is it that you want to do and what it looks like. So you want to talk about that time last year? You said you were traveling through Sri Lanka and Nepal, and that's where you sort of, gathered your thoughts and had a clear vision.
uh, Yeah, I can say so, but I think generally I'm a person that I understand myself very well.
Mm,
I think this is the kind of self-reflection that I encourage everybody to do. That develop that kind of self-awareness to know how you are, like what's your default, right? And then your strengths, your weaknesses. I think definitely that time alone helps you to kind of calm down and really focus on, is this really what you want, and obviously how much you want it, and maybe just carve out some plans to make things happen. Yeah, but I think a lot of it starts with self-awareness, because if you don't have self-awareness, then
mm,
things may happen around you and you always feel that things are happening to you and that you have no control over. Yeah.
that's a great point. Another thing I want to highlight as well, which is something you said, which is when you're doing something and when you're in that thought process of thinking, who cares?
Mm.
And I had an experience with that with myself when I was writing my book, and I was like 3 or 4 months in, and a thought would come to me as like, who even is going to read this, and who cares, right? And then it just you have to go back to why you're doing it. And for
Yeah.
me, I was really passionate about sharing my message,
Yeah.
which was, the experience of becoming a father and what sort of lessons you can learn from your child. So I was really passionate about it. So for me, whenever doubt came, I reconnected myself with my passion and why I'm doing the message. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to let the thought that, what other people think dictate what your
Yeah.
actions are, then that's going to be the story for most of your life. That
Yeah.
whatever thing that you do, you're always going to worry about, what people are going to think, and you're just going to mold your life according to what society wants you to be.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, back to the content creation bit, right? I
Mhm.
mean, a lot of people feel that, oh, it's not going to be good enough, and I need to tweak it here and there to get the likes and whatever. But the thing is that, like, the more you tweak that, the more it's not you, isn't it? It's no longer your message.
Mm.
It's a watered down version that you think, and it may not even be true, but that you think people want to see or hear. um, so when people ask me for tips, right, I tend to say, write it for yourself.
Mm.
Write it for yourself, because, like, for me, I stand by what I post, and I don't find content creation very difficult. I think it comes quite naturally for me, because I have a lot to say. I feel like I have a lot of thoughts that I want to put out there. But write it for you. Like, even now, when someone asks me, oh, do you have content around this and that, I'm like, yes, I do have it. I'll just share the link with you quite quickly. Yeah, I mean, write it for you, because if you start writing for someone else, then that is never going to be perfect, because there's just so many people who have a different opinion on what they want or not want to see or hear. Yeah.
No, I agree. Um, so let's talk about what you want to achieve with your company and your consultancy in the next, next 8 or 9 months. Let's make it short. Like, what are some of your short-term goals, and how important do you think you are to help you keep moving forward?
um, some of the short-term goals for me is to, I think, continue exploring collaboration
Mm.
with universities as well as education bodies, because I have done workshops for one of the top universities in Singapore, and end of this month I'll be doing another talk on future ready skills with the global accountancy body, ACCA. So I think it's a good way to reach out to people, professionals, as well as to students. I think it's quite fulfilling, because what the bit that I'm passionate to talk about is future ready skills, how they can adapt in the real workplace, and in the digital workplace as well. So the different skills here and there, I think, is quite important. I'm also launching coaching circles, because I think that there is power in kind of collective learning, and learning from each other's experiences. So that's something I want to focus on over the next few months, in addition to my one-on-one coaching and consultancy that I'm currently doing. So I think impact is the word, impacting more young people.
Mm, that makes sense, and I agree with the fact with creating coaching circles and having a collective.
Mm,
Because I myself, and even the work that you do, that's, I think, very important. Just the fact that people reached out to you means that
yeah.
there is a need for it. And I've had coaches in the past who have helped
Mm,
me, work out my vision and my problems, and
yeah.
limitations, and how to work through the barriers. So if you're someone who is trying something, absolutely new, and you don't know what's out there, then I would highly recommend, getting a support system. Whether it's a coach or having a friend encourage you or whatever it is, because I think a lot of us, especially when I was growing up, we were taught to not to ask for help, or it's, I don't know, there's some sort of stigma around it, that
Yeah.
you just try to do everything yourself, and that's how you become successful, and that's what a successful person is. They do everything themselves. And I
Mm.
think this sort of service that you're offering and that other people are offering, it's very important, because it's absolutely important to have this kind of support. I certainly wouldn't be where I am without the support that I got.
Yeah, I think it's so true that there is this certain perception or connotation out there that we are independent people, like we have to just figure it out ourselves. But what I would say is that, why would you even bother spending years trying to figure out something that you can just be prompted and move ahead so quickly? Because sometimes, it's not just the learning. there's just too much information to learn out there that we don't even know how to apply them. And sometimes what you need is just a little nudge here and there and say, hey, these are some of the questions that you should really think about. And for someone to mirror back um, to give you that perspective that, hey, this is kind of how you're seeing yourself. Are you aware of this? Because
Mm,
it's very difficult to see our own blind spots. Like even for coaches, I think we should all have a coach or a mentor of some sort that they can mirror back to you how you're behaving, how you're thinking. Because sometimes when we're very into something, we tend to forget like the bigger picture and actually where we're really headed to, because we're just so caught up in the nitty-gritty.
mm. I like that. I agree with that. All right, so let's move on to something different. I want to ask you about, since you've traveled a lot, 37 countries. What was your top 2 or 3 places that you visited, whether it be a city or a country that you really liked?
Um, well, the top location I absolutely love was Porto in northern Portugal,
Northern
because
Portugal.
I really love art.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what they have there was painted tiles.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much the entire town was just so beautiful. I felt like it was a visual sensory, that this whole visual sensory for me. Yeah, and also I think Portugal is a good mix between the more modern and traditional Europe, which I really loved. And of course, the Atlantic Sea. So it almost feels like there is that version of freedom that I feel like, oh, this is so free and so zen, and it's absolutely beautiful as well. So I really love Porto. I would go back any day. Uh,
Okay, I've written them down. Maybe I'll add it to my list as well.
and
Um,
and the second close one is Nepal. I think
ah,
Nepal is absolutely beautiful. I think the Himalayas, just the natural beauty is so vast that you feel so small, almost like insignificant. It almost feels like the problems that you have in life, they can float away. Yeah,
wow. Yeah, that's such a
it's
beautiful
so
perspective.
beautiful.
Yeah. Any particular city in Nepal?
uh no, I think I just love Nepal in general, but I think if
Yeah.
you really want to have a look at the Himalayas, then Nagakot is a really beautiful small town to be based at. So I spent, I think, a week at Nagakot, just literally staring at the Himalayas, and I did nothing.
Wow, I love that. Let's move on to my final 2 questions. I know it's late where you are, so I want you to get some sleep as well. So one message from you, from your heart, to someone who's looking to start a consultancy or a coaching business just like yourself, but
Mhm.
they're hitting some barriers of uncertainty. What would you say to them?
Hmm. Um, the real honest advice is it's really not as easy as you think.
Mm,
I think that entrepreneurship in the recent years has started becoming this very cool thing that every single young person wants to become an entrepreneur. Um, if there are some mindset blocks, I would really take stock of your past experiences and what are the skills that you managed to um, learn, whether was it in corporate or in college or the couple of years that you spent working. What are the skills that you think might come handy, and let's start working on those, because I truly believe that confidence comes from competence. So if you're
mm,
not competent, then the confidence that you're trying to get is the bunch of rah motivation that just dies off every 2 days. So you'll constantly be searching for some external motivation, be it motivational videos or positivity talks. But I think knowing that you have the competence backed up by your previous experiences or some of the projects that you managed to really um, get a lot of success, regardless of what that is, I think that gives you that natural confidence to say, okay, I can do this. But obviously, what I need to now put in is the hard work and really take action every day.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Confidence comes from confidence. I hope someone who's listening can be inspired by this. There's obviously certain amount of motivational videos that you can intake, and
Mm.
like you said, if you're not doing anything, you're gonna keep searching for more and more,
Yeah.
and then it sort of becomes like entertainment in a sense.
So true.
So yeah, all right. So before we go, what's one place people can reach out to you and connect with you?
I'm most active on LinkedIn, so feel free to add me on LinkedIn, Mei Phing Lim, or you can get more resources from my website, www.gottaping.com.
Ping.com. Okay, I'll put those in the links when I post the episode. And one last question: where does Gotta come from?
Um, Gottaping was actually a title that I used when I was blogging, probably 10, 12 years ago. So it just always
Uh,
stuck with me. I felt that uh, the IT techie people will get it because ping is like a communication, right? It's a back and forth. So I thought it's quite funny because got a ping and I'm the coach. So I have the inside skills and experience. So when you got a ping, then yes, you got a Mei ping. You're in luck.
I love that.
It's-
Thank you for sharing that. All right, well, we're pretty much done here. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. I really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing such powerful messages and your story.
yes, thanks for having me. Cheers.
Yeah, you're welcome.